Okay. How you doing, pup? Doing good. We have a crazy topic to discuss today. Yeah, we all watched something that we didn't really want to watch over the weekend. Um, I don't really know how to really begin this podcast episode, but I'm going to just state that it's 21 plus or otherwise mature enough, if you will. We're going to be discussing themes that I don't think children should be listening to, so don't let your children listen. If they are watching, show them one of my other episodes. One of my other episodes may be a little bit lighter. So, first things first, Donald Trump had a rally over the weekend. Now, before I even get into this, disclaimer for the umpteenth time, I am not a Donald Trump supporter. I am not voting for him in November. Everything that you are about to hear is not the opinion of a Trump supporter. Just stating that now, because what I witnessed this weekend and what I've witnessed since this weekend don't appear to be just a 20-year-old kid having a fucking yeehaw on a rooftop. I will not be naming the kid that shot Donald Trump, and I will not be posting a photo of him. It is my belief that that type of behavior by the media is why we have so many of these crimes, because they almost platform it. They almost glorify it with all the coverage that they get. Even now, if you guys are really so inclined, you can find so much evidence of this child online. It's not hard to look for. Going over the keynotes of the official narrative before we get into what I think may have occurred this weekend. Donald Trump had a rally in Pennsylvania. It happened Saturday. It took place in Butler, Pennsylvania. It didn't last more than a few minutes because just a few minutes into his basically opening statements, if you will, he was attacked by the shooter. I'm not going to name the guy, not naming him. So the shooter attacked Trump just a few minutes after the rally started. Trump had glanced over to his right while referencing a graph that was to his side. He was referencing a graph about, I think, immigration or something, and a shooter decided that was the time, and he pulled the trigger. He shot 3 rounds, realized he didn't kill the guy, and he shot what sounded like 5 more. And then thereafter, what I interpret sounds like a kill shot from Secret Service. He went down pretty much instantly. The kill shot rang out in what I measured to be either 12 or 18 seconds. There was a loud, I don't know if it's an explosion or a bang, if you will, but there's a loud bang that occurs 18 seconds later, and then somebody screams. So it sounds like that might have been the kill shot, but it could have came earlier. Either way, within 43 seconds, the shooter was confirmed to be down, and at that point, Donald Trump was starting to get up. Now, I'm going to just stop there for a second and state, if you for any fucking second think that this guy staged his own shooting and had himself be attacked to boost his rally numbers, you're a fucking idiot. And I do mean that offensively. I do. Because I'm just going to be frank, the people that typically perpetuate that belief are the ones that hate Donald Trump or don't support Donald Trump, which is fine. You don't got to support him. I don't support him. But typically it's left-leaning people, right? What does the left always say? It says that the right is the one that peddles in conspiracy theories and pushes nonsense with no fucking, fact-finding or no evidence, right? And yet in the exact same goddamn breath, they'll look you in your fucking eyes and they'll tell you, yeah, I think Donald Trump had himself get shot in the fucking face so he could make himself look tough on camera. No, it's not what happened. And I'm going to post the unadulterated footage in my podcast. That way you guys can see it. It's not graphic. Thankfully, Trump barely gets nicked in the ear. And as you guys know, anybody who's ever got their ears pierced, that's not a very bloody organ. If you lacerate it, it doesn't bleed much. So he was very lightly bloodied up and was otherwise fine. But where I'm getting at with this is you can hear it in the fucking footage that the Secret Service confirmed the shooter was down. Three or four people in the Secret Service flat out go, shooters down, shooters down, shooters down. Only then does Trump start to get, like tough guy Tuesday about it, where he's fist pumping and he's, fight, fight, fight. That happens after the kill shot. That happens after the confirmation of shooter down. At this point, it's literally almost proven to be safe. The only thing that hasn't been proven at this point is, are there multiple shooters? Is there anybody else that's going to harm Trump? Is there a bomb? Which we'll get into. Yeah. So that's what occurred. That's your main story. I'm going to just cut straight to the chase. I personally think that we just watched a coup attempt. I realize that those are bold accusations, but if you guys have studied JFK, most people that were alive then, if they're alive now, they believe that that was a coup attempt. A lot of people believe that Lyndon B. Johnson had JFK killed because he didn't perform well enough for the military-industrial complex. Records show, for example, that JFK was pulling us out of Vietnam and was well on his way to having us out of the war entirely right before he died. He basically signed a memorandum or an executive order, I forget the exact verbiage, but he signed an order stating that all troops in Vietnam would be returned home by the end of his second term. That's a 4-year mission, if you will, to get every soldier home. And a month after he died, Lyndon Johnson actually rescinded that order and instead ordered more troops to go overseas. Basically, everything that Kennedy did, LBJ did the opposite of. And I'll let you guys study how very openly Lyndon B. Johnson was his successor, right? I mean, it's a whole thing. A lot of people think LBJ killed Kennedy so he could have his reign and power. So anyways, he was the vice president, which means, rather bluntly, right, if you're the vice president of a candidacy, wouldn't you, under normal circumstances, typically support the same things that the guy above you supported if he's your right-hand guy, if you're his right-hand guy, right? Virtually every positive thing that Kennedy did was undone by LBJ. I'm not going to go into that here. That's not the right platform to do so. I think that's another podcast episode. But where I'm going with this is we've already had historical precedent that the government has been toppled by itself before. And we've already had precedent with the CIA in foreign governments doing coup d'etats whenever they see fit. We did it in Iran, in Venezuela, Nicaragua. Iran used to be a very, very democratic country. Men wore button-up T-shirts and women did not wear hijabs or burqas or any of that. That's a very relatively new concept. Anyway, we have precedent that this has taken place. So for people that say that can never happen, that can never happen, that can never happen, stick with me. Let me cook on this because I really do think it happened. I think it happened right in front of us, and I think that luck, God, the universe, whatever you want to state. I'm not saying God saved Donald Trump's life. That's not what I'm stating at all. I do think that God saved the history of this nation from being drastically rewritten. I do think the universe did that. I do think that luck did that. Whatever. Where I'm most concerned is the majority of my voter class either thinks that it was fake, or if they do believe it happened, they're disappointed in the end result. They're disappointed that he didn't die. And that's the part that's most concerning to me because we're missing a very, very large and almost obnoxious point that nobody's talking about at all. And it's the very real possibility that this whole thing may have been orchestrated by Joe Biden or his allies. Again, disclaiming very openly, I do not support Trump. I do not support Biden. I'm not voting for either. I'm voting for RFK. So my words are not like red versus blue, blue versus red, us versus them versus us. It's not like that. It's not. My words are, rather bluntly, JFK was my favorite president. I was borderline obsessed with him as a child, and I know way too fucking much about the details of his death to not recognize the patterns here. Um, so let's go into one of them. Right out of the gate, and again, I'm not naming the guy, but the shooter had no criminal history. And I intentionally waited for 3 days, roughly, to start filming this because I wanted to see what the FBI would drum up. And in the last 72 hours, they have hacked his cell phone. Which, fun fact, the FBI won't say what type of phone he has, and I think that he had an iPhone. That's another long-winded story for another day, but long story short, Apple swears up and down that you cannot hack their devices, and they did it with a terrorist shooting that happened in California. They proved that you can't hack it, yada, yada, yada. That was 10 years ago, and I'm pretty fucking confident that that's not the case anymore. Because again, the FBI won't state what the guy's phone was, but they're stating that they got into it. And that just makes it kind of sound like, okay, they're trying not to state things too loudly. But they cracked his phone. They cracked his phone. They cracked his computer. And they've cracked any digital tablets that he's been recently signed into. Nothing. Nothing at all. And I do genuinely mean nothing at all. I don't even know if he had a Facebook, but the usual suspects with these types of shootings, like Discord or 4chan or deep echo chambers online where it's like super left or super right media. He had none of that. None of the usual suspects at all. None. He didn't have an overt search history. He didn't have he wasn't depraved, he wasn't deranged, he didn't have like a sex or drug addiction, he didn't have a digital footprint online, he didn't have a criminal history, he didn't have a juvenile history, he didn't have a record in his fucking high school with like school suspensions. Nothing on this kid at all. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Almost as if his entire identity was scrubbed. Almost as if. Now, I don't want to jump headfirst down that rabbit hole. Where I personally like to platform myself is I like to just give you the nuggets of information. I don't always believe in every conspiracy I talk about. I like to just give you the nuggets of information and let you, the viewer, run wild with it. If you believe it, great. If you don't, just as great. My job is never to sway you or make you think I'm right and you're wrong. My only job is to make you question what you've been told and determine if what you've been told is still correct. If it's still correct, that's probably good. That means you weren't lied to. But if it's not correct, we need to be doing the digging to figure out what is. So, the first things first on the usual suspects list. What was his credibility? What was his criminal history? What was what was his behavior on paper that we have record of? And we don't have any record of that. So that's sketchy. He was a 20-year-old male. He was a registered Republican, but he never made any voting, which he couldn't have, really, except for maybe local elections. He was 18 in the midterms, so he couldn't have done anything at the national level. But he never voted. The only footprint he has, besides being a registered Republican, is he donated $15 to a progressive I don't know if it's a PAC or just a coalition, but he donated $15 to a progressive group. Now, I think that goes without stating, but I'll state it anyway. He's donated to leftist ideology in the past. So we've determined, okay, he at least doesn't like Trump. Likely, right? If he's leading left, he likely doesn't like Trump. Now, I'm going to just double down real quick and kind of circle back. The FBI has found nothing to indicate a motive. They have found nothing at all. Nothing. And if you guys go back to JFK and Lee Harvey Oswald, his official motive was fucking shit. Like dog shit. Their only motive that they could argue on Oswald was that he was a sympathizer to Russia. despite the fact that he was a CIA agent that we fucking planted there to spy on Russia and the whole story is a sham. Despite that. That's ignoring that, right? Okay, so he's had zero motive. He's had zero online presence. He's donated to progressive groups, but is otherwise apolitical, if we can just not sugarcoat it, right? Being registered to a voter class doesn't mean that you're an active supporter or member of that voter class. It doesn't mean that at all. I know registered Democrats that vote conservative. I know registered conservatives that vote Democrat. And I know everything in between. And I think you do too. You just probably don't realize it. So he had zero hate groups or ideologies, zero associations. He had zero manifesto, zero footprint. The only thing that the FBI has been able to determine about this kid so far, and this is not through him, this is through character statements from people that knew him. The only thing they've been able to determine from this kid is that he liked playing video games online. He was a PC kid, and classmates of his said that he was bullied a lot, and he sat alone at lunch. But I'll be honest, that's that's like the chemical workups of a school shooter, not somebody who tries to kill the fucking president, past or present. I don't care. It's a president. You try to kill him. So anyway, there's nothing yet that I've been able to find about this guy that indicates a motive. Now we're going to get into the event details. The shooter was on a building. Now, this one's going to make me kind of just a little bit pissy because it kind of goes down the conveniency rabbit hole. I've always argued that convenience typically means there's more to the story, right? Like in Hollywood movies, for example, if you can't see the dead body, usually the character's not actually dead, right? It's convenience. They're not showing you the proof of dead body, so that way they can bring the character back at a later date, right? It's just kind of a good rule of thumb. If you don't see a dead body in Hollywood, the character's probably not dead. That type of stuff also happens in conspiracies. For example, this shooter was on top of a building that was literally staged with local police. For no other available phrasing or wording that I could use here, that building was cleared of all civilians before the rally and was solely tasked and purposed with keeping the local police jurisdictions on hand specifically for an event like that. A shooting or an explosion or a distraction or an otherwise large crime that required a large police response. This guy was fucking literally on top of them. Hanging out, vibing, just chilling, doing whatever the fuck he wanted to. I don't know how nobody saw him that was of the actual police. Dozens, if not hundreds of eyewitnesses report seeing him and tried stopping it. I don't know if I'll include footage in here or not. If I do, I'll superimpose it here and then just have it play out.
If he was doing the job, I wouldn't even be doing this. I'd be at some beautiful places, the Gorgeous Ocean, the Mediterranean.
Look, they're all pointing.
The Atlantic, maybe the Pacific.
Yeah, someone's on top of the roof. Look. There he is right there. Right there, see him? He's laying down, see him?
Yeah, he's laying down.
Instead, I'm here with you fighting like hell to get a Senate.
What's happening?
And to make sure we take back the White House, because if we do, we're going to make America better than ever before. We're going to make it.
Yeah, look. There he is.
Easy, because we have millions and millions of people in our country that shouldn't be here. Dangerous people. Criminals. We have criminals.
He's on the roof. He's
drug dealers. We have people that
right
should not
here,
be here.
right on the roof.
It's much tougher than it happens.
He went right on the roof, big guy.
It's up here.
There are dozens of videos on people's Snapchats or their Telegrams or otherwise just posted to their Instagram feeds or YouTube feeds of people screaming. And I mean like blood curdling. He's got a gun. He's on the roof. Somebody stop him. Why is it somebody shooting him? Why is it? And it's just on and on and on. Dozens of videos of it. So why is it that the only people who fucking supposedly saw this guy are civilians that are unarmed? Because, right, you're at a convention. You're at a rally. Doesn't matter how Republican you are. You're not allowed to go to a rally armed for obvious reasons. Right? So the civilians in that crowd were not armed. The only people that were armed were the shooter and Secret Service and the police. So the only 3 parties that were armed. Why is it that the 2 good parties supposedly did not see this guy for 5 to 10 minutes while he was setting up, and there was dozens of people literally fucking screaming saying, hey, there's a guy up there. I can see that there's a guy up there. I can see that he's got a rifle up there. Why? Why did that occur? So that's red flag number 1. The local police jurisdiction has clearly shown an ineptitude. And I am not an all cops are bastards kind of guy. I'm not. I look at everything's case by case. But right now, the case is against the local police. They failed to act. In fact, one of the cops admitted that he went up to the rooftop, saw the shooter, didn't have a gun, and the shooter actually stared him down, made him go back down, and that's when he turned and fired at Trump. So somebody literally encountered him. Somebody that was a fucking police officer with a sworn duty to protect. And that guy needs to be charged. He did some stupid shit that day and almost got a lot of people killed and did get some people killed. Or really just one person killed. I don't include the shooter in the fatalities because whoopsie daisy, you did it yourself, buddy. Tough. But a 50-year-old firefighter did die. He leaves behind 2 daughters and a wife. So fuck the shooter for the millionth time, and fuck the police officer who let this guy get away. I mean, it's like, this is gonna be stupid, but it's like in Spider-Man, bro. Like when you let the bad guy get away, that's your job, bro. Like you gotta stop him. And again, I know that's dumb, but you have a job to do. Fucking stop that guy. This is my co-anchor here, co-host Mama Zook. Hi. Oh, okay. She's real interested in this topic. She said that her political candidate of choice may be giving out bigger treats. And she said that's the platform she's most interested in. She doesn't care about all the foreign wars or the taxes. She just wants more treats. If you support that party, go ahead and let Maya know who to vote for. Good girl. Let's summarize where we were. He was on a building full of cops inside. It's literally where they were stored in the event that this happened. The shooter did have 2 improvised explosive devices that have since been cleared by bomb control, but let's just cut to the chase. Nobody saw any history of him knowing how to build bombs, so how the fuck did he know, right? They've spent 72 hours searching through this guy's phone, his laptop, his desktop, his family's electronic devices, all of his friends and family, anybody that knew him, and there's no evidence that this guy ever knew how to build bombs. And I'll just be frank as fuck. That's not something an autistic guy can just figure the fuck out. So let's not make that excuse, shall we? Because you can't. So how the fuck did this guy make not 1, but 2 bombs? Not only did he make the bombs, he fucking made transmitters, little Bluetooth radios to make them go off. How the fuck does a 20-year-old learn how to do that? There's no way. I'm sorry. There is no way at all. A kid with no fucking criminal history knows how to make bombs? No. You're lying to me. I'm going to get real fucking uppity. I don't like it. Just summarizing my notes. His home, his phone, and his computer so far show 0 searches. Not even a search for how to do that, let alone the actual media to teach him. The FBI has openly stated that this kid was never on their radar. Not once. No warnings, no threats, no pings in the system. Nothing. The guy's a ghost. I don't like it. I'm going to tell you what I think he is at the end. The kid had a ladder that he used to get on the roof. Public records show that he bought that and 50 rounds of ammunition the day of the crime. The day before the crime, he was at his local gun range, which I believe was the one that he's a member of. He's a member of a gun range in his community, but I'm not sure if that's the one that he visited. He was at the local gun range sighting in his dad's AR-15, which is the one he used in the shooting. The range there, it goes up to 200 yards. And the shot that he took was only from 150 or 160. So he was plinking all day, the day before, 40 yards further than he needed to. Right? Like this kid was trained. He was ready to go. And he wouldn't have opened fire if he didn't believe that he could make that shot. If you watch the video, Donald Trump goes like this and looks at the graphic, which is kind of eerie. It's actually looking towards the shooter. But he looks like this and kind of puts his head down slightly, and that's where he gets nicked. And then he immediately goes like this, and the rest of the bullets go over him. But had he not done that, we would have got a pink misted watermelon in 4K from like 70 different camera angles. Like, I don't think you guys realize how close we got to history being rewritten in front of our eyes. That's scary. And for you guys that are condoning that, fuck you. If you condone political assassination, you're a piece of shit. You don't support that type of shit in this nation. Pure and simple. In this nation, we vote. We don't fucking try to kill people that we dislike. Right? So anyway, he ducks down, bullets fly. It's a whole thing. This kid was trained just the day before, and he panicked. And he panicked because he knew that he was about to die. Right? But this whole thing almost went exactly according to plan. He had Trump lined up in the side, which gives you the majority of your surface area to get that kill shot, right? Your brain is wide, not long, with the bullet. He almost got him, but let me get back to what he was doing before, right? He was training at the gun range, and he bought a ladder the next day. They say it was a 5-foot ladder, but I'm assuming it was one of those 5-foot ladders that you can swing up 180 degrees and make it a 10 or 11 footer, because he got on the roof of like a 1.5 story building. So it clearly wasn't just a rinky dink 5-footer. Here's my next question. Come here. Ready? How the fuck did he transport that on his Hyundai Sonata? If he was by himself, no help, no assistance, no government psyop. If he did all that by himself, how the hell did he put that on his rinky-dink Hyundai Sonata? Where's the cables? Where's the tie-downs? There's no evidence of this. His car was in a parking lot. There was a fucking bomb inside of it, and there was a ladder where he climbed up onto the roof. And records do show he bought that ladder earlier in the day. So the evidence is there. The ladder exists. But how the fuck did he transport it there? With no cables, no tie-downs, or no other devices to hold it in place while he's rampaging down the freeway? These are important questions to ask. Another important question to ask, and I've asked it before, but I'll ask it again, is how did no official agent see him? You can see on camera footage from people in the crowds that were in front of Trump, there were 2 snipers' nests, one in the back left and one in the back right of Donald Trump. The one in the back left was looking right at the guy. The guy that took the kill shot literally reacted. I'm not fucking kidding you. I don't know who it was. If I can find the person who was in the crowd that posted the video, I will shout them out, because I think it might be the best journalism of the year. But it has Donald Trump in the footage, and it has a sniper right behind him. It's the only camera angle I can see that shows it. And right when the bullets ring out, you see Trump duck and grab his ear. And immediately upon doing so, the shooter, or the sniper rather, I don't want to call him the shooter, the sniper rather ducks in and takes aim of the guy, as if he already knew he was there. His gun was already placed there, and then he ducked in, and he was ready to take the shot. And right after that, the camera angle ends, but by placing the other available footage together, you can safely assume that's when the kill shot rang out, right? So where I'm going with this is, based off of body language, and I could be wrong, I'm not a psychologist, I'll never pretend to have credentials in things that I'm not accredited in, but it looks like he was readjusting because he already knew the guy was there. And he was simply just waiting for the time to get the shot off. I'm going to cut to the chase. What better time is there to get the shot off when the target's not moving and he's opening fire into a crowd of civilians? Why did he wait 5 to 7 seconds to actually line that back up and go? Because again, that's when the footage cuts. I don't know if that's when, right when he did it. I superimposed a bunch of footage together to come to this conclusion, and I could be wrong. Timelines are regularly wrong. Just look at the JFK assassination. If you read the Warren Commission, their timelines are all over the fucking place. And eventually you come to the conclusion that Lee Harvey Oswald simply could not have been on the floor of the Union Depository, or on the specific floor of the Union Depository that they claim he made the shot. He couldn't have been, because eyewitnesses saw him, I think, like 2 or 3 floors down, enjoying lunch on his lunch break. So how the fuck did that happen? So let's get into further analysis and overall summary of what I think has occurred on Saturday. 3 days. 3 days. Okay, and here's my most damning evidence, especially because the person who made this evidence apologized for it after the fact. But 3 days before the attack on Donald Trump occurred, Biden stated, quote, "We must put a bullseye on Trump." And he mentioned that on a private phone call session with donors to his campaign, big time donors. It was a private call. To be on this list, you had to be people that were spending big bags. Big bags. He stated, "We must put a bullseye on Trump," and it was 72 hours before the attack. Anybody that knows how organized crime works knows that that's ample amount of time to organize a fucking hit on somebody, especially when you know the wins and the wheres of where he's going to be, right? Biden has since apologized for this and has openly stated that he thinks that rhetoric was poor choice. Now, why would you apologize if you didn't think that your rhetoric was inflammatory? Why would you apologize if you didn't think that your rhetoric maybe inspired somebody to do something? Why? Why would you apologize? I think I stated this earlier, but I'll just state it again, so that way we have all the information available for you. From first bullet from the shooter to the kill shot on the shooter was either 12 or 18 seconds. There appears to be that loud bang I think I talked about earlier, and I'm unsure if it was 12 or 18 seconds that went by, but it was either 12 or 18 because there was silence in between that time. 43 seconds after first kill or after first shot is when confirmation is made to President Trump. Now, I honestly don't think that the first bullet is the one that landed. I think the first bullet sailed, and the second bullet is actually what hit him. But either way, from first bullet to confirmation to President Trump's ears was 43 seconds. So after 43 seconds, he knew the shooter was down. That pretty much kills all of the whole he staged it bullshit, because he didn't start acting tough guy Tuesday until over a minute into the footage. So there's that. Now, what do I think happened? So I firmly believe that the shooter may have been a sleeper agent. And I realize that's a fucking bold accusation, but I haven't done an episode on it. I plan to do an episode on it eventually, but I've touched on it before. MK Ultra. The government formally discloses that this program has failed. It didn't. The MK Ultra program kidnapped a lot of kids. Montauk Project. I talked about that. MK Ultra kidnapped a lot of kids and young adults, anywhere from 6 to like 25. They kidnapped young people to control them. And again, the formal thesis is that, oh, it didn't work. We tried our asses off. We made a lot of really cool drugs, but we couldn't control the public. That's a fucking lie. It worked. There are rumblings and grumblings and rumors that we've had sleeper agents commit crimes in other countries that didn't know they committed those crimes. That's what a whole sleeper agent is. You get activated by a catchphrase or a code word or a specific sequence of events that occur, right? There's rumblings and grumblings that we've had sleeper agents commit crimes overseas. Putin himself has openly stated that we've used sleeper agents to try to assassinate him. I don't really trust Putin as a dictator. I don't trust him as an enemy of the state. I don't trust him as an enemy of everything that I hold dear. But what I do at least take with a grain of salt is that he openly runs the intelligence agency of his country, and he has access to a lot more information than we really give him credit for. Again, I don't trust him. I don't trust him as far as I can throw him. But he's made bold accusations before, and sometimes they've been proven to be true. So, again, you kind of got to take him with a grain of salt, you know? So, I think this kid was a kidnapped child at one point. There's witness testimony from his own uncle. I think it was his dad's brother. But, anyways, his own uncle mentioned that he hasn't had a close relationship with him since he was a young child. Said he hadn't heard from him, talked to him, had any relationship with him. And he stated, quote, it was because the kid, the shooter, had no interest in maintaining familial ties or relationships. But I feel like that's a very convenient ruse or a cop out. How can you go disappear from your family when you're a minor? You know what I mean? Like there's only so much you can really do. So I just feel like that's a cop out. There's no internet on him at all. It's almost like he's been fucking scrubbed. I'm just gonna be so fucking blunt and real. I can find shit about my dad on the internet, and he died before the majority of it even existed, right? So for you to not exist on the internet in 2024 is a bit weird, dude. It's really fucking weird. It's almost like he was scrubbed. But yeah, the MK Ultra program very regularly made kids go missing, brainwashed them, made them turn into bad guys. I am curious if this maybe occurred. I don't formally accuse President Joe Biden of doing such a thing. I actually personally think that Joe Biden's a very benevolent person. I don't think that he's no Hillary Clinton. Let's just say that, right? Like I might disagree with him politically, but dude, I'd have dinner with him. I'd absolutely have dinner with him. He's been in politics for 50 fucking years. He could teach me a thing or two, you know? I don't hate him as a human being. And I don't think that he himself was behind this. But I do think the folks at Mount Weather were. And Mount Weather is going to be its own episode, and I'll leave that with you here today. But there's people there that really run the government, and I don't think that Biden's in control anymore. I really think that we just watched a coup attempt, and thank God it didn't work. If Trump gets elected, I'm still scared for this country because of Project 25. If Biden gets elected, I'm scared for this country. If RFK gets elected, I'm even scared for this country because he's untested in politics. I don't know what he could do. He could flip the script tomorrow. I have no idea. But what I do know is that getting rid of political choice, killing one of the people that is somebody that the people want to vote for, that's scarier. Not having choice by the public is the scariest thing to me. Our ancestors fought tooth and nail to make sure that we could have freedom. And I think both sides of our nation's eagle, if you will, both sides of our bird are trying to destroy the Constitution. You guys need to support good fact finding in the next few months. You need to not be associating with the fringe. You know, Trump is not Hitler. As a Jewish guy, I'm just going to cut right to the chase. That guy is not Hitler. Many people in his family are Jewish. Many people in his friends are Jewish. Stop using that phrase that he's Hitler. Biden's not going to stumble us into World War III or nuclear war, right? Like, let's stop with the inflammatory rhetoric. Neither of those candidates are really going to be that bad. And I say this as somebody that's not voting for either one of them. Who could really be that bad are the people behind them. The people that do support Project 2025. Because Donald Trump has openly stated he doesn't, multiple times. But the people behind him that do. The people behind Biden that support that Green New Deal shit that really literally removes your choice to use fire. Even though it's the best thing humanity has ever found. Fire has led to more inventions than literally any other medium in Earth's atmosphere. So for them to try to get rid of that is kind of damaging. Where I'm going with this is you, the people, you, the viewers, you, the radical left and the radical right and everything in between need to not be fucking crazy over the next few years. I'm afraid for what will happen if you do. I'm going to link a book at the bottom of this podcast, and I want you guys to read it. It is a PDF formatted book because the real book is scrubbed offline. You can still find it, but it's omitted over 15% of the book's original pages, which I think you and I could both agree kind of removes a lot of the substance. It's 1 out of every 6 pages. Okay. So I'm going to put the link to that book in the bottom of this podcast, and you guys can read it if you'd like. A lot of stuff that is in that book took place on Saturday with Donald Trump being shot. The reason why I'm kind of spooky and speaking all quiet now is because that book was originally written in the 80s, and the guy that wrote it died in a shootout with the police for being a little too on the nose. So don't be a jackass the next few months. Don't promote fringe ideas. Don't be a part of the far left, the far right. And please love your neighbor. Okay? That's all I got to say. Fuck the kid that tried to shoot Donald Trump. Fuck anybody that supports this. I mean, if any other candidate got shot, would you guys be supporting this? I mean, just take a moment. You're fucking disgusting. So, have yourself a good one. We'll get this posted as soon as we can. I didn't think I was going to be filming again. We have had some new evidence that has come out while the wife has been editing this episode. So it is in my best interest to relay that to you. I'm going to cut right to the chase. It reinforces what we were already discussing earlier. This is in addition to, today is 7/18/24, July 18th. It's now 7:03 p.m. So this is a few days after the fact of filming the first time. So the first thing that stuck out to me like a sore thumb, I saw this earlier today. This is from NBC. Okay. The article itself just says, Trump shooting, Secret Service changes story on the local SWAT team position. Now, as you guys will remember from my podcast, it was earlier reported that the building that the shooter was on was full of police. I guess it was SWAT personnel. I think I just stated that it was police. But anyways, that building they're now claiming had no police, in fact, at all. They're actually stating that it was another building nearby, and I'll read direct quote. A U.S. Secret Service official said a Pennsylvania police SWAT team was in another building than the one whose roof was used Saturday by the shooter to shoot at former President Donald Trump. The new account contradicts a prior claim made by Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle. Okay, so this is the Secret Service Director herself. She stated, she was the one that said these guys were police. They were in the building underneath the shooter, underneath the guy. Now, one of the Secret Service officials that's not the director of the company is now stating, oh, no, they were in a building nearby. We got our information wrong. So that's first blip number one. The reason why I bring that up is because the official narrative being changed takes away some of the incompetency arguments and the negligence claims that civilians all across this country, Republican, Democrat, and Independent, have been making all week. Anybody with the brain is blaming the local police or the Secret Service or a mixture of both for the failure that was that Saturday. I think it was July 13th. That whole thing could have been avoided if there was better communication between the police and the Secret Service, or furthermore, if we just didn't try to kill elected or formerly elected officials, because that's what we all think happened. Mount Weather, government continuance program, all of that. We're going to get to that a little bit more here in a bit, and I'll probably make a podcast episode about it, but I'm not sure yet because I don't know if it's one of those forbidden topics. So, yeah. Anyways, the disclosure follows news. More direct quotes. The disclosure follows news that the Secret Service had increased security for Trump after being told of a plot by Iran to kill him. Now, we'll just appease any assumptions or thoughts or theories that you may have. Iran was not behind this at all. They really weren't. Somebody close to the matter in Iran basically stated, we wish we were behind it, but we weren't. Sorry, guys. Next time. Pretty savage. I don't know who it was. And again, I'm completely mincing the words here. Don't quote me. But that's basically been their behavior on it. They were like, damn, it sucks he didn't die, and it sucks we weren't behind it, but we weren't behind it. They've already come out and said they weren't behind it. So another piece of evidence from the same article said a source familiar with the shooting probe told NBC that local police saw the shooter with a rangefinder, which is used to measure shooting distances, if you didn't already know that, and that they had informed the Secret Service that they were looking for the shooter with that device before Trump took the stage at the rally. Okay? So they had already seen the guy. I've already said that they've seen the guy, but now the police themselves is admitting, hey dudes, we saw the fucking guy. Now, he was also spotted on the local news channel nearby that was just kind of hyping up the rally, talking about, hey, you know, here in a bit, Donald Trump will be speaking, yada, yada, yada. Let me try to see if I can find that exact quote. And while I'm doing so, I'll talk about my next thing that he did. So the shooter, they're finally starting to find some slight online presence about him, but I'm going to be blunt. It's still very minimal. Very, very minimal. Apparently, he posted on his Steam account something along the lines of July 13th will be my premiere. Watch as it unfolds. Pretty eerie, pretty sketchy. But let's look at the wording of it. He said it will be my premiere. Watch as it unfolds. The way that phrasing comes off, it makes it sound like he had follow-up attacks planned, which it's pretty obvious that he did, because he had bombs both at his house and in the trunk of his car. So he already had, you know, he was hoping he was going to get out of it that day. He had told his coworkers, hey guys, I'm going to need to take Saturday off, but I'll be in Monday for my next shift. So he was legit planning to just get right away with this. He thought he was good. He thought he was gravy on Thanksgiving. He really did. He wasn't. He is now Swiss cheese. Sorry, I don't sympathize with people that try to kill government officials. He's a piece of shit. And if his family sees this, well, you raised a piece of shit. Oh, speaking of which, that's another thing. So while doing my deep dive today, I found conflicting statements from the father. The father, in one interview, he told a reporter that, oh yeah, I loaned him the gun that day because he had used it yesterday and several other times recently, so I just assumed that he was going back to his gun range doing typical boy stuff. Which, on any other given day, yeah, that's a good answer to probably give the police, right? But after making that statement, and since, it has actually come out that the family had called the police because they didn't know where their son was, and they didn't know where one of their guns was, and he fucking stole one of the guns and dipped, is what they're claiming. I don't know who to believe, because once you start conflicting your story, well, now I don't believe anything that comes out of your mouth, right? So I personally think the dad and mom at least knew their son was up to some stupid shit, but I don't think that they thought it was going to be this deep. They probably just thought he was being a hooligan, as most, 20-year-olds are. Fly just tried to assassinate me. Jesus. The next thing that we're going to talk about, now, come here, okay? I'm pissed off because this last one really, 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 really hammers home that this kid either had help or I don't want to be right, but I fear that I may be. He was a sleeper agent. He had help. This was not, like, he had a handler. He had somebody that made him go psycho, as sleeper agents do. I don't know how to explain it very well right here, right now. But essentially, a sleeper agent has a handler that watches over them at all times, and usually is the one that gives them their trigger phrase, or their trigger word, or object that makes them click and go, in a kill mode. I think that his handler assisted him, and here's why. So, as I told you guys before, he bought a ladder the day of the shooting, right? Now, I said firmly that ladder was used in the shooting, right? That's what it was originally reported. They said there's camera footage of him literally buying the ladder. He bought that. He bought ammo hours before the shooting. And he was in location at least 2 hours before the shooting because he was caught on local CCTV footage and news footage being outside of the rally, pacing around. I think it was an hour and 6 minutes before the shooting. Furthermore, The Secret Service had already admitted that they had seen this guy with a rangefinder about an hour before the shooting too, scoping around various rooftops and otherwise just being a suspicious person. So, getting into the next topic. ABC News reported 10 hours ago the shooter, quote, went to a local gun shop that day where he bought 50 rounds of 5.56 ammo. He also stopped at a Home Depot to buy a 5-foot ladder. Pause here. Bigger quote here. Bigger emphasis here. Zoom in here. Lick my ass here. Though it was not found at the scene and is not believed to have been used to access the roof. From the top, he also stopped at Home Depot to buy a 5-foot ladder, though it was not found at the scene and is not believed to have been used to access the roof. How? 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 Please answer that. I will entertain any fucking theory, no matter how crazy. The last place that he was physically proven to be before the rally was the Home Depot. He stopped at the Home Depot second in this transaction. He got the ammo first, got a Home Depot second, and was at the rally hours before it started, scoping out potential locations. Hours. 2 to 3 is the current estimated time. He was spotted all over the goddamn place starting at about 86 minutes before the event. And then he was in his position, his final shooting position, I believe 20 to 30 minutes before the shots rang out. Okay, so where the fuck did he go? Did he take that ladder and just, I'm just going to buy Dad a ladder before I get myself killed by the Secret Service. I'm just going to, do him a solid. I'm going to go buy him a ladder. Bring that home real quick. What the fuck? What did he do? Where was this ladder? And nobody can still answer the question of how he transported this ladder with a fucking Hyundai Sonata. How? How? Where were the cables? Where were the tie downs? Right? Nothing. Until you can answer that, this kid had help. Somebody helped him. And I do believe that it was his handler. There was an entity, and I'm not sure whom, that targeted, manipulated, brainwashed, and then activated this young man. Point blank, period. With every other school shooting, with every other mass murder, with every other mass organized crime plot that gets discovered, right? There's a slippery slope of transactions that occur where you could see, okay, I can kind of see how this guy did that. I can kind of see why this guy did that. He was X, Y, and Z. He was, he was bullied as a kid. He was this. He was a Republican and hated Democrats. He was a Democrat and hated Republicans. There's usually a thesis. There's a path that you could follow where you could see how this guy got crazy. There is none with this kid. That is usually the tempo of people that have been targeted by the CIA or the FBI or various other government agencies that are supposedly linked to creating sleeper cells and sleeper agents. The KGB in Russia, they're not the KGB anymore. They're something else. It's just a circle jerk name change, so they try to rebrand. It's still the KGB. They still do government psyop bullshit all day long. They're not better. They just renamed themselves. Various government agencies worldwide are known to have worked together or have used the research from MKUltra. It's not well known, but that information is out there if you want to find it. Russia has our secrets on MKUltra, which is blasphemously ironic because that's literally the fucking country that we used MKUltra to learn about how to manipulate. So, bit odd that we shared the intel with them, but anyway, that's for another day. I very much think this kid was manipulated by another entity and he is a sleeper cell. I mean, anybody that's read on what sleeper agents do and how they're activated, this follows the mantra well. There's no internet info on him. There's no record. There's no criminal history. There's no ideological issues. There's no religious. There's no hate. He's clean as a slate until he's not. And they always get taken out in the crime. Sleeper agents always get taken out in the crime. Always. If it's in the police shootout standoff, which is usually what always happens, like with this shooter, they kill the guy, so he cannot tell you what happened. That's what happened when Jack Ruby killed Lee Harvey Oswald, who supposedly killed JFK. If you do the math, and I'm not gonna go down the rabbit hole here now, but I'm just gonna drop some little breadcrumbs for you. Jack Ruby was a nightclub owner in Dallas, and he had the majority of the local police on his payroll. He's the one that killed Lee Harvey Oswald, who is supposedly the one who killed JFK. Now that is all I'm going to say on that matter, but you can put two and two together and ask yourselves why the local police was on a mobster's payroll and why that same mobster is the one that killed Lee Harvey. I'll let you put two and two together. We'll let you do that. But hopefully this is the last time I have to film this subject for now. I want to wait and see if there is any more evidence that comes out. But right out the gate, we've had a lot of stuff that's come out that's kind of hammering home a lot of the shit I've been believing. What's eerie about it is I've been believing this kind of since the second day of the investigation. As soon as the FBI said, yo, we're struggling to find an online presence for this kid, my bells were rung. My bells were absolutely rung. Because that is like the exact thesis. When you can't find people online, dude, I'm sorry. That's impossible. That's impossible. I said earlier on the podcast that, I could find stuff about my dad on the internet and he died before, the majority of it was even regularly available. He died before social media. Of course, the internet existed, but in its rudimentary stages. I'm talking you're playing pinball on your dial-up, That's when he died. So if I can find my dad who died 20 plus years ago, how the fuck can I not find this kid? Right? How come the only thing we could find on this kid is that he played a few games on Steam despite being a massive nerd, and that's it. And then he made that message. He made the message, it's going to be my premiere. Watch as it unfolds. That shit's cringe, buddy. That shit's fucking cringe. That shit's fucking eerie. And I don't know. It just reeks of he didn't do it. He had help. So, I don't know. I'm going to end the podcast in stating I think Donald Trump was shot. I think that part happened. The rest of it, I don't know. But if I were to speculate, the shooter was a sleeper agent. If my speculation's correct, Mount Weather is behind this. Mount Weather is the continuation of government program. And they have secret presidents. They have secret cabinet members. They have secret senators, secret House of Representatives. It's like a 1-to-1 ratio. For every member in our real government, there's a member in the shadow government. And that is who is likely behind this. I cannot confirm or deny, but when the shooter is looking up where Biden's going to be, on the same phone that he looked up where Trump's going to be, and I'm not shitting you. You can look this up if you don't believe me. The shooter in Donald Trump's shooting searched, where's Donald Trump's rally going to be? And then he searched, where is Joe Biden's rally going to be? It wasn't his rally, excuse me. It was the Democratic National Convention, which is a big fundraising event for the Democrats, and the Republicans have one too. But Biden was expected to speak there until he got COVID this week. If you want my theory, I don't think Biden has COVID at all. I think they're coming up with a convenient scapegoat to keep him out of the public eye because one of our presidents just got shot in the head. And they're wanting to make sure that the other one doesn't because of what I said. That shooter was on his way to go kill Biden too. He genuinely believed that he wasn't going to get found and shot by the Secret Service. That level of confidence is unmatched. You can't be that confident unless you know something we don't. He thought he was going to get away. He thought he had help from the inside. That's what I'm trying to say, okay? So, enough stuff. I don't want to talk about this anymore because I feel like I've already hit the nail way too far into the 2x4 and it's coming out the other side and I don't want to get on a watch list again. So, we're going to end that here. You guys have yourselves a good one. If any of you guys want to talk about this more privately, let's discuss. I would love to. I'm just stating that this is where I kind of close the curtain on the public side of it. Again, if you guys want to know more, if you guys want to, have a beer, go out to a bar, have a drink, discuss this, I'm down. You guys have my socials. Just let me know what you think. But from here on out, I can't discuss any more of this theory publicly because what I've already shared about Mount Weather, 99% of the country doesn't even know about. My wife posted the book that talks about Mount Weather a little bit more. Use it sparingly. There's also some anti-Semitic stuff that's in the book, which again, use it sparingly. If I, your Jewish friend, am vouching for it, that pretty openly states it's not a Nazi book. It's not. The author just thinks that Jews were trying to take over the world. I'll be frank, that's a pretty leading theory nowadays when 30% of our government is Jewish, despite us being 2% of the population. So, with that being said, I will link the book for you guys. It's a great book. You don't have to go through the Jewish stuff if you don't want to. It's pretty interesting if you do, but I'll likely be discussing that book further and further as we go on in our conspiracy journey because this guy was an intelligence officer and he knew more than we do. Pure and simple. But it's called Behold a Pale Horse. I discussed it a little bit earlier in the pod. The wife posted it. You guys will be able to read about it further. But if you guys pull it up on your desktop, press Control F, type in Mount Weather, and it'll take you right to the excerpt of what I'm talking about. It'll tell you exactly what's going on, and you guys will be able to read it for yourself so I don't have to get shot in the fucking face about it. Cheers. You guys have yourselves a good one, and hopefully my next podcast is about an uppity conspiracy or like a fun conspiracy. I don't know. Maybe we'll talk about the Chuck E. Cheese animatronics. Are they real or do they have their own personality / soul? What do you think? Because I fucking do. I think them shits are scary. And if you guys do a deep dive on Reddit, you'll actually find a bunch of employees from Chuck E. Cheese that swear to God those animatronic things have moved in the night when there's no power and a whole bunch of shit. So I don't know. Maybe we'll do a fun one like that my next episode and not one that makes you absolutely scared to leave your house. But who knows? We just do what the fans want to see. So you guys have yourselves a good one. I appreciate you if you stuck around this long. I know this one's a little bit longer, but it needed to be stated. We live in a democratic nation and we cannot be condoning what the fuck just happened. So with that being said, you guys have yourselves a good one. Have yourselves a good weekend. Stay safe. Don't get your ears shot.
Yeah.